All right, welcome back. If you've stuck with it this long so far, you're doing really well. This is probably going to be a bit of a shit show and a bit of a long one. So we're going to attempt, and I'm going to do it on the fly, because I want you to see some of the mistakes I make rather than having a really polished example of implementing authentication. Cool. So, what we're not going to be doing is hooking up the users to the database. I think that's probably the only sort of step before it, but everything else should pretty well. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm sure there's some other ways to do it that, it could be better. Probably there might be a couple of security holes here. Typically, I've been using Firebase authentication for a lot of my work with Flutter. However, look, this will work, and this is completely independent of any third parties and totally open source. So let's have a go at this. But yeah, I'm not super practiced in it, but let's crack on. All right, first things first. So we're going to use this library, and we're also going to use Corsac JWT. Now, this may not be the most up-to-date one, but I had some examples that worked. It was a little bit less extreme. Hold up, I've got to go turn off the still. It's just a little bit less extreme, the implementation from the other ones. So, yeah, let's crack on. Let's chuck these in, let's have a go. We're going to make it work, and we're going to end up with JSON Web Tokens, and we're going to decrypt hash the passwords with bcrypt, with dbcrypt. All right, so first things first, starting over here again. Server kicks off the server. We go over to our server class. It's got all of the routes in, and then we head on over to the user's route, and then we have these things. So I've made a couple of comments since the last time, just about the things that we need to do. Okay, so we can do login, or we can create an account first. Let's do login. Okay, so first things first, we need to validate a username and password. So let's create a little service which allows us to, this is where you would typically hook into the database, user service. Now, typically I use, and I have been using with great success, Get It to do my services. There's two ways I can do it. Sometimes I'll do an app services, or create another one here, and I call this we can just services sometimes, like this. We go class, we go services, and then we go users service, and we go users. We can probably just initiate this like that. Cool. And then what I do is I will go and let's go and grab Get It and chuck it on as well. So Get It. Cool. Probably could have guessed all of this, but off we go. All right. So Get It allows us to basically create singletons, and more importantly, if you go to start writing tests, it makes swapping out these sorts of services really easy for mocks. So I've done a bunch of things in the past, ended up getting stuck into a corner. Get It's got me out of the trouble every single time. So, all right, so what we're going to do then, I typically do something like this, services, and I do services in no case, and get, it's a getter, then we do get it dot, not get, cool, get it dot instance dot get, and we want services. So we want to use the type because we might want to sub out some sort of a test services or something else. As long as it extends this or implements this, we're going to be all good. Now, you want to initiate this right back at the beginning. So get it dot instance dot register singleton. Okay, services. Should work. Why did that work? Maybe it's got to come in there. What that? Cool. Cool. So we know we've registered a services singleton. Swing on back over to, where are we there? Cool, and so now we can just call services from pretty well anyway, which will then allow us to do services.users, and then we go to the user service. Now, we're going to just put some dummy data in here. So typically you have something like a refresh, or it's going to go to the database, maybe it's going to load it, or it's going to be like, get user. In this case, actually, yes, we're going to do, say, get user. Or find user, sorry. By username, by email and password. Email and password. And let's go. Cool beans. Obviously, I could have probably made them just, position. But anyway, it's all good. Cool. Find user by the emails and passwords. So then we have like over here, we'll just say, let's go users. Cool. User, we're going to go email, we're going to go, yeah, hang on. So find user by email. It's not password. You've got to validate that in the next step. So, user by email. Email is test@email.com. Cool. And we'll give it a first name as well. First name is testmap. Okay, so let me just go. In this case, we can just do. We don't want to throw an error if it doesn't exist. We want to return null. So we want to have user, and we want this to be a future of user, because at some point you're going to want to hook in a database. And so we want this to be async. Cool. And what we're going to do is users.firstWhere or null, like this. So there we go, user, and obviously this bit here we'll sub out at some point for a database call, but this here can stay the same. So we're still building towards putting a database in. We're just going to sub it out as we go forward. So it's pretty clean architecture for that. So user.email is equal to email. Done. Okay, so that's our user service done. Now, so we have then services. Trace that through, user services, back to user route. Okay, validate username and email, we're going to log in. So first things first, we need to get the user. Okay, so final user equals, services, dot users, dot find user by email. And so we're going to go here, we're going to go request. This is going to be a post request, so it's going to be request dot body as JSON map. Hang on, let's just sort this out first. Is this the future? I think it is, yeah. Okay, so this is asynchronous. Cool. Okay, so request.body is JSON map. So we have body. It's going to be just body. Email. Cool, so if user is not is equal to null, then we can throw an Alfred error, which is really Alfred exception, which is handy. It'll bubble up properly, and you can do all sorts of bits. You don't need to like format it out. So the status code in this case, what is this? This is a 401, I guess. User not found here. We can do something, like message and invalid user. Cool. So we've got a user now. Oh, wait. There we go. And now we've got no user. Sweet. So validate the username and password. So we've got to check the username and password. All right. So what are we going to do here? Well, we've got to get, this is where we have to get the password from the user. And then we have to do a bcrypt situation. So let's go over to bcrypt. Let's go down here. So is correct. This is what we want. Check password, plain hash. So the body is going to have a password. So final, no, just stick body with password. Okay, let's check this in. Put that in. So plain is going to be user.password. Hashed is going to be body password. So it's going to go and check to make sure that when body password is encrypted, user password is equal to the same thing. So if that is the case, so that's is correct. Don't need new anymore, that's old dad. Sweet. So that's validated the username and password. So if it's not correct, if is correct is equal to false. Now, you're not necessarily supposed to say the reason why something didn't work, and you really shouldn't. It should just be, failed to log in. However, in this case, we're just doing this so that we can also see where this is breaking down. Okay, so generate a JSON web token. That's the next step. So over here, call site WT. All right. So it's been a while since I've done this with this library. Let's see how we go. Okay, so the token, so issuer is, api.alfred.com. Expires at, yeah, at least a little bit of time. Okay, so this is where we can put in some user information. Cool, so we can do user ID. Yeah, I guess, look, that's it. Right, let's just go email. That's the username, that's all that really matters. And it is going to be user.email. Cool, and then we get the token. So now we've got a token. Then we have to sign the token. So there might be a better place to put this. And it should probably be an environment variable, but for the second, we'll just chuck it up here. But yeah, look, you really, for best practices, that should be an environment variable that we read off the server. Okay, so cool. And you might want to put, because that is potentially going to be shared throughout the app for other services that may need to pull in a JWT secret, particularly in the checking the authentication, you may even want to put this. In fact, we probably should put this. Let's chuck it in the services. We can check it there, and just go fine. And this is where I guess we're going to load it off the environment variable into that anyway at some point. We'll chuck that down there. Cool. So that's the signer. Now we need to sign it. So yeah, so what we've done here, we've created the token which is unsigned, put into the docs. Now we're going to create a signing class, and then we're going to sign it, I guess. So builder.getSigned token. Cool. There you go. We can print that out. We're going to try and write actual tests to do this. So we've got to convert it to a string. Okay, so what we're going to do, return, and we're going to go here, and we're going to go token. So we've got this far, and we're going to go sign token.toString. Now, cool bananas. So what we've got is we've got our login function done. So, yep, I guess we'll go back over it. We can rehash it in a sec if we need to. Oh, hang on a minute, that's never using that. Token, builder, let's call it token. Okay, that's the builder. Get signed token. Yeah, we could probably simplify this because we never use that builder again, do we? Now, let's pull him out, chuck him in there. That works right. Get rid of new. Done. Alright, so that should all work. Let's have a crack over here though. So users root, let's create a test. So test, I'll probably need to actually add test stuff to this. It should, test dependencies. I think it's just test. Cool. Alright, users root. Test, it should log in a user. There we go. It's going to be asynchronous almost certainly. What am I doing wrong? Test isn't fun. So it should log in a user. Cool. It's going to be async, like I said, but let's not worry about that for the moment. Okay, so users root. Oh, no, we're going to do HTTP requests. There's probably, this is not a true unit test, but it is a great way to do things without having to fire up Postman. So we need here, we need HTTP. You may end up wanting to move that up into your dependencies if you end up doing calls to external servers. But for the moment, because we're just using it for testing, HTTP lives down there. All right. Users root, services, user root, here we go. Okay. It's just the convention. All right. So http.get. What are we going to do? We're going to do localhost 3000. There is some stuff in Alfred source code which the people have contributed, which does a better job at doing these. You can do it setting the port. I guess we're going to do that in a sec. But anyway, so this should hopefully work. It should be localhost 3000. We could probably actually have set the base URL. So we go users and we go log in. Okay, cool. And we're not doing a get, we're actually doing a post. And we're going to do body. Yep. And the body is going to contain, it's going to contain email. And it's going to be tests@email.com, I think. Doesn't matter. And the password is going to be, yeah, we're going to go password 1, which should fail. Okay. Double quote a string, that's not our problem. URI. Dot pass, I think it is. Done. Cool, it should log in a user. There we go. Cool. Why? Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Alright, so response. Oop. Dot body. Oh, we need to pass the Json out, do we? How annoying. Since it's a test, we could just do it in an unsafe way. Equals json.decode. No, there it is. Response.body. Alright, so expect data taken is not equal null. Alright, so one of the other thing we're going to need to do is fire up Alfred. So, what have we got in main? I guess we just go to server, hey? And this is where we can sub out services. So we probably need to do this. We probably need to basically do this. Since we haven't actually got like any dummy services to sub out at the moment. And we should probably do this in a before all situation. But let's just have a go at this for the moment. See if it works, and then we'll take that up. Cool. What's the matter? Alright, I'm going to pause it while we work this one out. Alright, we're back. So, we needed to upgrade to the dull safety version. I guarantee it's probably a better JWT library to use. And, you know, at the end of the day, the whole point of Alfred is that you're not locked in, you can swap out to whatever you want. However, we're going to use this for now, because we're there. And they're only better because, well, we're just not maintaining it all that much. If So we have an error down the bottom here. Tried not to make too much and obviously show you all the errors that we hit. So failed to create a server socket because the address is already in use because we're using this over here. So let's stop our old server. Chuck that there. Run it. Now what do we got? Cool. Oh, invalid salt version. All right. So it's actually worked. It's gone. It's hit our login. It's gone to there. Alfred's up and running. Invalid salt version. So where is, that's DB crypt. We're hitting it here. Check the password. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's that password is it's nothing. It's probably null. In fact, it is null, and the body is this. So yeah, it's an invalid input. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, back again. So look, obviously the bcrypt is just, instead of saying, nah, it's not correct, it's going, oh, hang on, that's an invalid input. And it's throwing an error. So what we probably need to do is we need to wrap a try-catch around this. What are we going to do? I suppose, what is the actual error? It doesn't have an error type. It's just invalid salt version, format exception. That's a shame. Well, I guess we can do one format exception. Format exception. Catch E. And if E dot message, yeah, I guess it's going to be message. We should probably need to print it out. Is equal to invalid salt version. And we can throw an Alfred error. Invalid salt. Cool. And yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, another user error, so 401 is probably sensible. Okay. So, what do we have now? Invalid salt still. Invalid salt. Didn't pick it up. Let's set a breakpoint here and see what's going on. Invalid salt. Users.login. Check password. Oh. It's not. I should be catching it. Format exception. Oh, hang on, maybe I've got it. Breaking on errors. Yeah, that's good. We want to take that off. Otherwise it's going to break on every error that it gets. Let's give it another crack. Didn't hit it. Maybe it's not on format exception. Users rate. Let's just go catch. I'm sure there is a better way to do this, but this is the only way I have ever taught myself to catch something when there's nothing to hook into. Still didn't do it. Dummy exception to set test code. Alright, maybe over in our test we are not awaiting something. Let's close all this down. User test. Let's just start back here. So close out this. Alright. We're awaiting the response and the decoding, and we're getting to there. It should log in a user. Format exception. No. User service. It might well be because we're actually leaving. Oh, we are leaving this whole process over here. It's not hooking in properly. But let's try that. Let's chuck in the breakpoint. It's not breaking. Alright, I'm going to pause it again for a second. We'll work this out. Okay, we're back. I've worked out exactly what we were doing and where we went wrong. Okay, so we're back over on the users root test. So what was happening was we were doing this JSON decode for the response.body, but over here, there we were catching the error and then we were returning nothing, and it was trying to decode nothing, and that's why it was saying nothing's happening. So now our test is failing with it should log in a user, expected true, got false. So expected that the token would be not be cooled down. Turns out that we don't have a token. So, well, what we need to do, and that's because we threw we would have thrown an error. Which I guess we should probably print. Maybe we should print that out. Print data. Yep. And print status response.status code. Cool, and then we can see it a little bit easier. Oh, didn't mean to debug. Cool, message, invalid salt version, and it's 401. Cool beans. Alright. So, now what we need to do is we need to have a user which actually has a proper password. So, what is the password that we set? Password was password. Yep, that sounds about right. So, what we might do, can we just go set password here? It might work. Okay, but now we need to do what set password does. So, we need bcrypt again. Let's go on over to the bcrypt. Where are we at? There it is. Now we need to hash the password. So, password. What's this? Plain password. There's new password. Put the library. Chuck that on the end. Hopefully that'll work. Now we should probably get the wrong password again. But let's see what the error says. Should log in a user, true, false, invalid salt version still. Interesting. Set password, new password. No, services, user service. Set password is password. User route, password is password. That's not asynchronous, no. Cool. Let's just print the password. That's what happens there. Oh, setting it to that, so that's cool. Salt, just log in a user. Shouldn't be getting down to invalid salt. Users, service, users root. Okay, so is correct. Obviously, invalid salt doesn't actually mean anything, it just means we had an error. So now what we need to do is print the valid salt version. Let me pause it again. I'll just have a quick look at bcrypt, see what we can do about that. Okay, so I reckon it's because we mucked these around. So that one's going to be like that, and that one's going to be like that. Let's give this a try. Cool. Cool bananas. Alright, so what we've done is we have gone, let's have a look, let's rehash it now that we've got it all up and running. So, we passed out the body from the login request. We got the user from the database, but not a database at the moment, but that's where we pulled that out. The user exists, cool. Then we check that, so we can delete that. We check, is this correct? So we've got to get the plain text password first, and then the user's password next. Probably get rid of that because that's probably a security hole. So if the user doesn't have a password, I guess, yeah, let's go. Or user.password is equal to null. There we go. And then we can say, very good. We should do it right. Sign up. How do we want to do this? We'll just chuck an exclamation mark. What we should do is break that out into a variable, but because we're not even sure it's not even a thing yet at the moment, then we have to do that, put that up there, do that. Anyway, it's going to confuse things a lot more and we fiddle around with it. Okay, and I'm sure there's a better way to do it. I'm sure someone else is screwed. Okay, so we do have that at the moment. I'll probably leave that in there at the moment. Unknown error occurred. Because we're not actually catching it properly. We can chuck that in as 500. Okay, so we're checking if it's correct by checking the plaintext password of that. If it's not correct, throwing an error, 401. If it is correct, then we're going to go and build a JSON Web Token. Chuck in the details in here that make sense to you. We then have to sign it with this. And then we're going to get the signed token and we're going to pass it back to there. And that's how it's going to be. If we jump on over to the user root test, cool, and we do that, and maybe we should just print, I guess we printed the response already, response.data, and here's our token, that's our JWT. So the user needs to grab that, chuck that back in a bearer token to be able to get their current user, which unfortunately I've run out of time for the day. But no, look, let's continue. Let's do a part 2 of authentication, and in part 2 of authentication, we will go over here and we'll flesh this out. So current user will look up the user that we've got, and it will return this correct user from the database to the user. We'll also go about creating an account, which creating an account should be relatively easy. We're just going to create a user object, we're going to save it. And again, this is probably more of a database operation than it is something that, is worried about authentication in that sense. Cool. The other thing I guess we've still got left to do as well is middleware and checking if the user is authenticated by validating the bearer token that comes from the JWT. Cool. Anyway, and that might all sound like gobbledygook to you, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We'll get there.